Please check your audio and video settings, please. Guys. Please check your audio and video settings, please, everyone. Please check your audio and video settings, please, guys. May 10th class not happened, boss? May 10th class not happened? Class content, spring here. In spring, what is there, guys? What is there? 715, 64, 64 spring MVC, 10th code also have. 10th code also I have shared with you, right? Yeah, that is done, boss. Okay. Yes, as you people are demanding, let me give the code up to today. Let me give entire code up to today. Then I will move to spring security discussions. 6.4, guys, NTSP 6.4. This Sunday you watch Jacaco tool, guys. Jacaco code coverage tool. Sunday you watch Jacaco code coverage tool. Jacaco code coverage tool. I clearly explain what that tool will be. Code coverage. What is this? You open the project, get into the project. Okay. Yes, boss. Here is the location, guys. Here is the location, guys. Okay. Control all. Done. Are done. I click. Show more options. WinRAR. Compress to this. WinRAR compress to this. Where is that? Then where is the file? Where is the file generated, guys? Once again, check it out. There. Okay, this is the better one. I will tell the reason. I will tell the reason. It is saying that certain files are in open mode. Certain files are in open mode, guys. That's the issue. Close all editors. No files are in open mode. Okay. Control E. This is not required. This need required. Right click, WinRAR. Yes. Okay. Now tell me, up to which date? Up to what is there? May 13. May 13, 2020. May 13, 2020. Class work here, guys. Edit was. Okay, what is the location made here? Any location? Course. Okay. May 13, 2020. Putting the notes was, I think it's saved. Yeah, entire notes is given was. Let's come to Spring Security. What is our today's discussion? Spring Security. This is another module in Spring, guys. It is given to provide security to Java web application. Security means authentication plus authorization. Checking the identity of a user is called authentication. Checking the identity of a user is called authentication. Checking the access permissions of a user on various resources is called authorization. Various resources is called authorization. Are you understanding my statement, boss? Array, to get into Zoom, I should submit the password, you should submit the password. I mean to submit password number. But when I become panelist, I have more access permissions in Zoom meeting compared to you people. You have less access permission. I have more access permissions. I have more access permissions. You have less access permissions. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Everyone understanding my statement, guys? I have more access permission compared to you people. What do you say, boss? Okay, tell me. To get into bank application, every user's identity must be verified, authentication. To use various resources of banking application, the access permissions will be verified. This is called authorization. This is called authorization. To use various resources of banking application, the access permission will be verified. This is called authorization. Right now, boss? To get into banking application, every user's identity must be verified, authentication. To use various resources of banking application, the access permission will, I will explain boss. Clerk, employee, customer, everyone should give his identity, username, password kind of thing to get into banking application. But if the login person is customer, only few resources access will be there. If logged in person is employee, you will be having more access permission compared to customer. That means based on the role of the user, role means designation. Role means designation. The access permissions on the resources will be increased or decreased. The access permissions on the resources will be increased or decreased. Username password verification, thumb impression verification, iris verification come under authentication process. Definitely comes under what, guys? Definitely comes under authentication process. What do you say, boss? After authentication, the authorization on various resources will be verified. After authentication, the authorization on various resources will be verified. What do you say, boss? After authentication, the authorization on various resources will be verified. User with customer role can access only daily transaction module. Okay, daily transaction module, comma, offers module, guys. User with customer role can access only daily transaction module, comma, offers module, right? User with employee role can access daily transaction module, offers module, loans module, customer management module, and etc. Users with the employees role can access. Check it out. Customer can role daily transaction and offers module. Employee role can access daily transaction, offers, loans, customer management, everything. Okay. See, when I log in, you log in. But my role is faculty, your role is student. As a student, you have less operations to do in the Zoom meeting applications. I have more operations to perform in Zoom meeting application. Yes, na boss? Okay, guys. Okay. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay. Don't perform authorization directly on the usernames. Always do that. Always do that. Always do that. Always do that work. Taking the support of user roles. Taking the support of user roles. Roles are like designations. Listen, guys. Listen, guys. If a user is Raja, give him permission to daily transaction module. Raja left the organization. Some Ramesh joined in the company. Again, you have to modify the code. Instead of that, if I give authorization, access permissions based on the roles of the users, based on the designations of the users, based on the roles of the users or designations of the users, then problem will not be there, na boss. Then problem will not be there, na boss. I want reply from you people. Okay. Raja left the company. Ramesh joined having the same designation. Anyhow, we are verifying access permission based on the designation. When Ramesh logged in, his designation is taken, role is taken. Based on that, it will decide whether that fellow is eligible to access the resource or not. Tell me, guys, it's better to provide authorization or access permission based on the username or based on the roles of the username. Not based on the username, it should be done based on the roles of the username. Based on the roles of the username. Is that clear, my dear? Is that clear, my dear? Okay, guys. Under me. The place where username, password, and roles are maintained is called authentication info provider or security realm or authentication provider. The place where username, password roles are maintained is called. It can be a. We can use a database software or properties file or XML file or LDAP server and etc. as authentication info provider. Authentication info provider. Are you getting my point there, guys? We can use database software or properties file or XML file or LDAP server and etc. as authentication info provider. What do you say, boss? Getting my point there or not? Super. Authentication info provider. Check it out. Username, password roles. Raja Rani clerk. Ramesh Hyderabad clerk and manager role. Suresh Jan is having clerk and manager role. One person can have multiple roles also, boss. Bad application, banking application services. Daily transaction, loans, financial services, payroll. These are various services that banking application is offering. If username equals Raja, allow daily transaction, loans, financial service and payroll. Authorization based on the usernames. Suppose tomorrow Raja left the company. In that place, Rajesh is joined. Again, we have to modify the source code now, boss. Again, we have to modify the source code now, boss. In this logic, if Raja resigned or promoted, then there will be problem because we are hard coding the username for authorization. The recommended process, guys. Ask end user to log in by submitting username password. Okay. Perform authentication using the submitted username and password, right? Okay. Gather the roles of authenticated user like manager, clerk, and etc. Provide access permission to user based on the roles as shown below. Based on the roles as shown below. If user role equals clerk, allow daily transaction module. If user role equals manager, allow daily transaction module, loans module, payroll module, financial services module. Allow daily transaction service module, loans module, payroll module, financial services module. Are you getting my point there, guys? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on. Financial services module. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on, are you with me? If role equals clerk, tell me, guys, in any company, designations are fixed, but users are more. Designations are fixed. Users are more. What do you say, guys? In any organization, designations are fixed, but users are more. So that's why better to provide access permission, better to provide authorization, not based on the, where is that? Username based on the roles, authorization based on the roles. Don't provide on usernames, provide on roles. In any security management, two important components are there, guys. Number one, authentication provider or authentication info provider or security reader. Two important components of security implementation. It is the storage unit where the username, password, and roles will be stored and managed. Example, text files, properties files, database software, XML files, LDAP server, and best. LDAP server is the best, guys. Okay, why, sir? Why, sir? Why LDAP server is the best? In other places, if you forget the password, you can get the password. But in LDAP server, if you forget the password, no question of getting the password back, except recreating the new password, resetting the password. We cannot do anything except creating a new password. Come on, guys. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. Observe in Gmail or Facebook, if you forget the password, can you get the password back? No. What you have to do? You have to recreate the password. You have to recreate the password. In LDAP server, once the password is forgotten, we cannot get password back except resetting the password. We cannot get password back except resetting the password. Now, LDAP is also one server, guys, where username password roles will be managed. Lightweight directory access protocol. It is a separate server which can act as a separate software which can act as authentication info provider. Lightweight directory access protocol. LDAP server, once password is forget, we cannot get the password except resetting the password. Except resetting the password. Super, guys. Next one is what, guys? Second component of is what? True say important. LDAP is different, Tomcat is different. Tomcat is a web server where we can deploy and execute web application. LDAP is there to manage username, password, and roles. Do you think Tomcat manages username, password, and roles? No. Authentication manager, guys. It is the component that takes username, password from end user and performs authentication and authorization services by talking to authentication info provider and gives 401 error response if authentication fails, and also gives 403 error response if authorization fails, boss. Is the component that takes username, password from end user and performs authentication and authorization services by talking to authentication info provider. By talking to authentication info provider, right now, boss? And gives 401 error response if authentication fails. And also gives 403 error response if authorization fails. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Are you understanding my statement? Right. This is the main component that actually perform authentication and authorization activities. This is the main serious component that actually performs what? Authentication and authorization activities. Clear, my dear? Two types of authentication managers, boss. Programmatic authentication manager, declarative authentication manager. Programmatic means programmer developed authentication manager service improves the burden on the programmer. Programmer should sit and write authentication and authorization logic. It's very difficult now, boss. Very time consuming process, difficult. Declarative authentication manager, best. Using the ready-made authentication manager given by underlying container like what? Servlet container or IOC container, boss. So we are going to use underlying servlet container or IOC container supplied what? Authentication manager. Super. Using XML or annotation configuration, we activate the ready-made authentication manager service of servlet container or IOC container. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Either by writing XML entries or by writing annotation entries. We can activate ready-made authentication manager service or okay. Array, see, already authentication manager is there as a ready-made service. Okay, inside the servlet container or IOC container. To activate it, either we have to use annotation or we have to use XML. Servlet JSP application support declarative authentication manager having the following limitations. having the following limitations. Okay, can I ask one question, guys? Anyone studied security in web application in Servlet JSP classes? Basic mode, digest mode, farm mode, client cert mode. Recollect. In my classes, I generally teach that, and I also give videos on that. Security in web applications, boss, where we have used Servlet Container Manager, Ready-Made Authentication Manager for authentication and authorization services. For authentication and authorization services. Getting my point, my dear? Okay, if you have not watched them, you have not attended such classes, 1 minute. I will try to share the videos with you people, guys. Security in web applications. Security in web application. One minute. Let me keep the security. Security in web applications. Streaming, guys. Paste, guys. Here is this. Super, guys. If you do security in web application by using Servlet Container Managed Authentication Manager, the following limitations are: number one, does not support advanced authentication providers like database software and LDAP servers. Does not support advanced authentication providers like database software and LDAP servers. Right now, boss? Does not support advanced authentication providers like database software and LDAP servers. Clear, my dear? We need to write server-specific entries in web.xml file. We need to write server-specific entries in web.xml file. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. Some web servers do not support these security features. So we will be forced to use costly application server only for security feature. If I work with Servlet Container Supply Declarative Authentication Manager, these are the limitations we are having. We cannot move our application to another server which does not support security feature, which does not support a security feature. Latest best authentication info provider is LDAP. Here no support for LDAP. Even no support for database software. Very bad now, boss. Okay, we need to write server-specific entries in web.xml. These entries may not work in other servers. Okay, some web servers do not support this security feature. So we are forced to use a commercial high-end, application server to use this security feature. We cannot move our application to another server which does not support security, Up to Tomcat 6, it's a web server, boss. Tomcat 7 plus application server. WebLogic, Wildfire, Glassfish, and etc. are application servers, boss. Application server is equal to web server plus plus. Here is my web server, here is my application server. Okay, application server internally acts as a web server. In web server, we can deploy and execute only web application. In application server, we can deploy and execute We can deploy and execute. Are you understanding my statement, guys? To overcome this problem, take the support of Spring Security having the following advantages, guys. Okay, first of all, in web servers, we can deploy and execute only web application. In web servers, we can deploy and execute only web applications. In application servers, we can deploy and execute. We can deploy and execute. Tell me. We can deploy and execute web applications, distributed applications, enterprise application, and etc. It's a bigger server, na bigger application. It's a bigger server, that's why bigger application. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Right. To overcome this problem, take the support of Spring Security having following advantages. If you move to Spring Security, definitely some advantages are there. Spring Security can be applied in Spring MVC application and non-Spring MVC application like Servlet JSP application, JSF application, and etc. Are you getting my point there, guys? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on. To overcome these problems, take the support of Spring Security having following advantages. Spring Security can be applied in Spring MVC applications and also in non-Spring MVC application like Servlet JSP application, JSF applications. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Spring Security can be applied in Spring MVC application, also in non-Spring MVC application like Servlet JSP application and JSF applications. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Are you with me? Are you getting my point there, guys? Yes, lots of people think that Spring Security can be applied only in Spring application. JSF is another framework, Rabab. Like Spring MVC, we have another framework called JSF, Struts, WebWork. All these are can be used in those servers which support security service and do not support security service. We can use in those server which is having built-in security feature, which is not having built-in security feature, which are having built-in security feature. Which are having security feature. That means whether servlet container is having security feature or not, irrespective of that, irrespective of that, irrespective of that. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Irrespective of that, irrespective of that. Are you understanding my statement? Can be used in those servers which support security service and do not support security service. Whether server is giving support for security service or not. Irrespective of that, we must think about supporting this one. Can be used in those server which support security service and do not support. We can use in Tomcat server, Tomcat 6 where security is not supported. Tomcat 10 where security is supported. We can use in other server where security support is not there. Supports multiple authentication providers like database software, properties file, XML files, and LDAP server. Great, na boss. Supports multiple authentication providers like database software, properties file, XML file, and LDAP server. Clear, my dear? Got the point, my dear? Come on. Super. Like database software, properties files, XML files, LDAP server. Super. Tell me, no need of writing any entries in web.xml file related to security. Is there any need of writing any entries in web.xml file related to security? Are you getting my point? Understanding my statement, guys? No need of writing any entries in web.xml file related to security. Entries are required in Spring Bean configuration file, guys. Entries are required in Spring Bean configuration file. Entries are required in Spring Bean configuration file. Super. Gives a lot of additional features like remember me, session max count, all this stuff. So a lot of new features can be applied, all these things. Remember me checkbox, na, that comes automatically. Or if any user logged more than twice in from two different browsers, for third time login, it will say, no, you cannot log in. Recollect Netflix profiles. Netflix gives one user, two users, two logins, three logins. Remember, if you try to log in more than that, you will get error. Right now, boss? Super. Different approaches of implementing Spring Security. As usually, using XML-driven configuration, XML plus annotation, 100% code-driven configuration. Okay, Spring Boot, guys. This is good in Spring Boot based application development. This is good in Spring based application development. Right now we are in Spring level. Na? That's why we are going to learn this. That's why we are going to learn this. Are you getting my point there, guys? Yeah, next diagram is very, very important. Please concentrate. So far we are working with what? Security namespace. So far we are dealing with what? Security namespace. Come on. Once we import security namespace, what guys? Once we import security namespace to Spring Bean configuration file, the Spring application generates multiple servlet filters as Spring Beans representing multiple services. Representing multiple services. Clear, my dear? Array, we have a bean namespace, context namespace, security namespace. Are you getting my point, guys? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Once we import security namespace to Spring Bean configuration file, the Spring application generate multiple servlet filter as Spring Bean representing multiple services. You don't believe, guys. Once we import this namespace, we will get authentication info provider, authorization info provider, all this stuff, guys. All this stuff. Are you getting my point, boss? Since these servlet filters are there as Spring Beans, they cannot trap and take browser request. Okay, now listen. Since these servlet filters are there in Spring Beans, once they become Spring Bean, they move to IOC container. Once they become IOC, they move to IOC container as Spring Beans. Do you think they will get the request? Do you really think they will get the request? Are you getting my point? Do you really think they will get the request, guys? No. Why? Only when they are in servlet container, they can take the request. Once they move to what? Once they move to IOC container as Spring Beans. Once they move to IOC container as Spring Bean, definitely they cannot get the request. Definitely they cannot get the request. Are you getting my point there, guys? Since these servlet filters are there as Spring Beans, they cannot trap and take browser requests. They cannot trap and take browser requests. For that, we take one special filter called delegation filter proxy with a /star URL pattern to trap and take browser requests and to delegate them to servlet filter components of IOC container that are acting as Spring Beans. That are acting as Spring Beans. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay, guys. Now listen. First try to observe this. Once we import security namespace, lot of servlet filters will come as a Spring Beans in IOC container. Authentication manager filter, remember me filter, session timeout filter. Lot of filters will come, but they are coming as what? Spring Beans. Filters, but they are coming as Spring Bean. If they are there as Spring Beans in IOC container, do you really think they can take browser generated request, guys? Do you really think they will take browser generated request, guys? Do you really think they will take browser generated request, guys? I want reply. Sorry, they cannot take browser generated request. They cannot take browser generated request, guys. Are you getting my point? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Browser gives request number one. Browser gives request number one. They cannot take direct request. So we need a special component in servlet container, and that special component is delegating filter proxy. That special component is delegating filter proxy. Everyone getting my point? Super, guys. So this delegating filter proxy is having /star URL pattern. That means on behalf of other servlet, it will trap all the requests, passes each request to appropriate Spring Bean comes servlet filter. Appropriate Spring Bean comes servlet filter. Right now, boss? Okay, now listen. I imported security namespace. All these are generated as Spring Beans automatically in the IOC container. Since they are there in IOC container as Spring Bean, they cannot take browser requests. Only the components that are there in servlet container, servlet JSP filters, okay, these only can take the request. But I want to see them as Spring Beans so that I can do dependency injection and other operations on this. But I want to see them getting requests from browser. That's why I'm keeping on special mediator component called what? Delegating filter proxy, who take all the requests coming from browser and passes them to what? Spring Beans that are there in IOC container. Look at the flow, guys. Number one, request is given. Number two, delegating filter proxy traps and takes the request. Super. Number three, this will pass the request to authentication manager. This authentication manager is internally linked with what? Authentication info provider. So there, username password verification will take place. Their username password verification will take place. Okay, 5 success. Okay, from there it will pass to remember me, session timeout, dispatcher servlet, session timeout. If all are successfully done, it goes to dispatcher servlet, from their controller class, from their service class, DAO class, request processing takes place. Suppose some problem has come, 5 error. It will give response back to delegating filter proxy. Delegating filter proxy will give what? Error response back to browser. Error response back to browser. What error response? Either 401 or 403. 401 means what? Authentication failed. 403 means what? Authorization failed. 403 means what? Authorization failed. Okay. From all these things, response is generated. That response also comes to whom, guys? Delegating filter proxy. And from there, success response goes to browser now. From there, success response goes to browser. This is my success response, guys. This is my success response. Okay. It won't go to data source. From DAO, anyhow, it will go to database now, boss. Maybe I have not highlighted it, does not mean it won't go to database. Definitely database will be there, guys. Okay, this is database software. I hope you understood the meaning of this, guys. Here is my database. Here is my database. It will go to dispatcher servlet. Yes, definitely goes. Okay, maybe I have not highlighted every aspect. It will not go directly, boss. Again comes back. You want to very specific diagram? Wait a minute. You want me very specific diagram? One minute. I'll give very specific diagram then. I'm just giving idea, Rabo. I'm just giving idea. Database software. Okay, it will go there. Comes back. Comes back. Happier? Again comes back. It's back. It's back. From here, we should go to dispatcher servlet. Okay. Here is the response. Here is the response. Eight S. All this discussion is 9S. Here is my 10S. All this one 10S. Success 11S. 11S. Here is my 12S. Here is my 12S. Here is my 30S. Here is my 30s. Everyone getting my point, guys? Come on. These are dynamically added servlet filters, IOC container as Spring Bean on various tags that are used for security namespace that is imported in Spring Bean configuration. Okay, browser gives request. This filter traps and takes all the request, passes that request to what? Appropriate filter, which is acting as a Spring Bean that will talk with what? Authentication info manager, from where username passwords will be gathered. Then remember me, then session timeout, then to dispatcher servlet, controller, service class, DAO class, database software. DAO and database software. Everyone got the clarity, guys? If everything goes smoothly, this one. If error response comes, authentication manager says authentication or authorization is failed. Error. That error response goes to browser, throwing 401 or 403 error. Showing 401 or 403 error. Clear, my dear? Got the point, my dear? I hope you are understanding my statement, guys. So entire magic is there importing security namespace, guys. Once we import the security namespace, most of the things will happen automatically and we have to write code accordingly. We have to write code accordingly. So read these advantages one more time, this diagram one more time. After explanation, look at this paragraph, guys. Once we import security namespace to Spring Bean configuration file, the Spring application generates multiple servlet filters as Spring Beans, representing multiple services. Since these servlet filters are there as Spring Beans, they cannot trap and take browser requests. For that, we take one special filter called delegating filter proxy with the /star URL pattern to trap and take the browser request and to delegate them to servlet filter components of IOC container that are acting as Spring Bean. That are acting as Spring Beans. Everyone getting my point? That are acting as Spring Beans, guys. That are definitely acting as Spring Bean. That are definitely acting as Spring Bean. Comfortable, guys? Got the clarity, boss? I want reply. Super. So next class is on Monday, guys. Monday when we meet, we will discuss about what? How to implement these concepts practically. Thank you, guys. Have a nice time. We'll meet on Monday.